Local health experts reassure that the risk of the India's Nipah virus reaching the city remains low and the airport is guarding up. Hong Kong's exchange fund posts record earnings of over $330 billion last year. And British Prime Minister Keir Starmer lands in Beijing and says he will bring benefits back to UK. Good evening, you're watching Cable News. I'm Evan Bai. Amid a Nipah virus cluster in India, the Centre for Health Protection said Hong Kong has recorded no suspected or confirmed cases so far. Authorities have stepped up monitoring at the airport to guard against the potentially deadly virus entering the city. Travelers are urged to avoid contact with wild animals and refrain from drinking raw date palm sap. Cheryl Yun reports.
India has confirmed 2 cases of Nipah virus in West Bengal since December. Local health experts warn there is currently no approved cure or vaccine for the virus in humans or animals. Taking to the airwaves, infectious diseases expert Ivan Hong from the University of Hong Kong said early symptoms of Nipah infection often mimic the flu, including fever, headache, vomiting and muscle pain. In severe cases, however, it can progress to serious complications, such as encephalitis, with a fatality rate ranging from 40% to 75%. Albert Au, head of the CHP's Communicable Disease Branch, said authorities are closely monitoring the situation, with enhanced screening measures for travelers arriving from India, including temperature checks and medical assessments introduced at the airport starting yesterday. The CHP reassured the public that there are no signs of widespread cross-border transmission or major community outbreaks in India at present, and the overall risk of the virus reaching Hong Kong remains low. Nevertheless, Hong Kongers are advised to avoid non-essential travel to areas affected by Nipah virus outbreaks and to steer clear of contact with wild animals, especially bats, pigs, or other potentially infected species. Cheryl Yun, Cable News.
India's health authorities have clarified that only 2 confirmed cases of Nipah virus infection have been detected in West Bengal since December last year, quashing rumors of a larger cluster. Meanwhile, neighboring Thailand and Nepal have ramped up passenger health screening at airports and land border crossings as a precaution. Cheryl Yun again has the story.
The clarification comes amid growing regional concern over the deadly zoonotic virus, which can be spread from animals or humans or through contaminated food. India's Ministry of Health said 2 confirmed infections occurred in West Bengal, reportedly involving healthcare workers and their family members. All 196 individuals identified as close contacts have been tested negative for the virus. Central and state health teams have carried out thorough on-site investigations, increased laboratory testing, and strengthened surveillance to prevent further spread. No additional cases have been found so far. India has experienced past outbreaks, including severe ones in the southern state of Kerala during 2018 and 2023, resulting in 17 and 2 deaths, respectively. The high lethality and lack of approved treatments prompted quick precautionary steps from neighbors. Nepal has intensified screening at Tribhuvan International Airport in Kathmandu and key land borders with India. Thailand has stepped up checks at 3 major airports receiving flights from West Bengal, requiring arriving passengers to submit health declarations. No cases have been reported outside India so far. Cheryl Yun, Cable News.
Back to Hong Kong. Last year, the exchange fund recorded its highest investment gains of $331 billion in 18 years, driven by bullish stock markets. The Hong Kong Monetary Authority announced today that the investment gain of the fund rose to $331 billion, surging 51% from $218.8 billion in 2024. The fund delivered an investment gain of 8%, hitting an 18-year record high. All main components of the fund recorded positive returns. Bonds rose 4.6%, Hong Kong equities surged by about 55%, and other equities gained 7.2%. Foreign exchange recovered from the red to $38.4 billion. A total of $16.5 billion was paid to the fiscal reserves over the year. HKMA Chief Executive Eddie Yu cautioned that there is no guarantee that performance will be sustained this year. Looking ahead, he warned that factors like global economic conditions, geopolitical tensions, and artificial intelligence development could heighten market volatility and further affect the city's final line of defense, maintaining the local currency pegged to the US dollar. Dozens of construction workers have staged a demonstration at a residential estate demanding payment of allegedly unpaid wages. Two of the protesters climbed up the erected scaffolding at Baekgyo Villa in Pak Fu Lam this morning, prompting firefighters to deploy an air cushion as a precaution. The group of workers claimed they had not been paid wages from September to December last year, involving around $4.5 million. They displayed a banner reading "Worked with sweat, but no pay," to voice their grievances. The affected trades include scaffolding workers and plumbers. The renovation project at the upscale residential estate, in which each household had contributed about $300,000, was managed by Prestige Construction and Engineering Company Limited, which was also responsible for renovation work at the site of the fatal blaze in Tai Po's Wongfu Court, and their works were suspended following the tragedy. Hong Kong is advancing a series of high-tech fire safety initiatives, as Security Secretary Chris Tang revealed that a smart Internet of Things fire alarm system is being tested on 10 older buildings, while a pilot scheme to trial firefighting drones is also in the pipeline. Kunting Yang tells us more.
In a legislative meeting today, Tan told lawmakers that the IoT detectors can monitor fire risks in real time and transmit alerts directly to the Fire Services Department, sharply reducing response times. He called the initial results ideal, announcing a first-phase review is set for the second quarter of this year, which could lead to a citywide rollout. The scheme focuses initially on buildings completed in or before 1987 that are 6 stories or lower, a segment long seen as vulnerable to fire hazards. Tan highlighted that installation of the IoT system is notably swift, taking just 2 to 3 weeks compared with 1 to 2 years typical for conventional hydrant and hose systems. Cost is also lower, at roughly $200,000 per building, about one-third of the $600,000 average for traditional setups. Looking ahead, the government plans to encourage even buildings with existing hydrant systems to adopt the smart alarms voluntarily. On drones, Tan noted that while the mainland has not yet formally deployed firefighting drones operationally, Hong Kong will launch a pilot to assess the safety and effectiveness of drones in its dense urban landscape. Kunting Yang, Cable News.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has begun the first visit to China by a British leader since 2018. Ahead of the trip, he reiterated that the UK cannot afford to ignore the economic opportunities presented by China, while it must remain vigilant about potential security threats. Starmer arrived in Beijing this evening for a 3-day visit. Earlier on the plane, Starmer told reporters that China matters and the trip will bring benefits for people back at home. It doesn't make sense to stick our head in the ground and bury it in the sand when it comes to China. It's in our interests to engage, he said. Starmer will meet with President Xi Jinping and Premier Li Qiang on Thursday for talks on trade, investment, and national security. When asked about human rights issues, Starmer said, "I've always raised issues that need to be raised, while declining to go into specifics." Ahead of the trip, the Downing Street released a statement saying that it does not mean turning a blind eye to the challenges they pose, but engaging even where we disagree. Alongside a delegation of 60 leading UK businesses and cultural organizations, Starmer will travel to Shanghai for a range of engagements with British and Chinese businesses before flying to Japan on Saturday. Italian officials and citizens are expressing outrage over U.S. plans to deploy immigration agents to Milan for American security at the Winter Olympics, citing the agency's involvement in fatal shootings of civilians domestically. Kun Ting-yang has the story.
The controversy erupted after the U.S. Department of Homeland Security confirmed that a branch of Immigration and Customs Enforcement will support security operations for the American delegation during the Winter Olympics, which start in Italy on February 6th. U.S. officials stress the agent's role is strictly supportive, focused on vetting transnational criminal threats, and that all operations remain under exclusive Italian authority. However, for many in Italy, the agency is notoriously linked to recent violent incidents in its own country, including the fatal shootings of 2 citizens in Minneapolis this month. Milan's Mayor Giuseppe Sala gave voice to the anger, calling ICE a militia that kills and stating they are not welcome in Milan. Some political leaders have also expressed concern, voicing doubts that these armed militia would not adhere to Italian laws and regulations. In response, senior Italian ministers have scrambled to offer reassurances. Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani insisted no ICE agents would appear on Italian streets. Speaking on the sidelines of a ceremony marking Holocaust Remembrance Day, Tajani said, "It's not like the SS are coming." The Italian government asserts that any U.S. personnel would work solely from within the American consulate in Milan, with their functions limited to protecting the U.S. Vice President and other dignitaries. Kun Ting-yang, Cable News.
Earth is closer than it has ever been to destruction as the doomsday clock was advanced to 85 seconds till midnight. The metaphorical clock is now 4 seconds closer to midnight than a year ago. The Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists cited risks of nuclear war, climate change, potential misuse of biotechnology, and the increasing use of artificial intelligence without adequate controls as a major annual announcement, which rates how close humanity is from ending. The advocacy group also expressed concerns that Russia, China, the United States, and other major countries have become increasingly aggressive, adversarial, and nationalistic, adding that if the world splinters into an us versus them, zero-sum approach, it increases the likelihood that we all lose. On the contrary, the clock could be turned back if leaders and nations work together to address existential risks. Home prices in the city rose for a 7th consecutive month to a 1.5-year high in December last year, climbing more than 3% for the full year. The private residential price index edged up about 0.2% month-on-month to 298.6 in December last year, according to the Rating and Valuation Department. The gauge marked the highest since July 2024, though it remains nearly 25% below the market peak recorded in September 2021. For the whole year of 2025, home prices increased by 3.25%, ending a 3-year slump. Prices rose across all flat sizes last December, while gains were modest, with the sharpest increase seen in large units of 1,722 square feet or more. The rental index reached a record high, slightly up 0.09% to 200.7 last month, surpassing the previous peak in August 2019. For the full year, the rental index rose by about 4.3%. Analysts noted that the city's residential market has picked up notably since the middle of last year, supported by the stock market boom, interest rate cuts, and government talent schemes. Now let's take a look at the stock market. The Hang Seng Index ended the day up 699 points. Top active stocks of the day: Alibaba was up $3.60, Tencent was up $14. SMIC was up $2.70. Popmart was up $15.20. On to the weather now. Mainly cloudy, 1 or 2 light rain patches in the morning and at night tomorrow. Bright periods during the day. Temperatures range between 17 and 20 degrees, moderate easterly winds. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our news tonight. I'm Effing Bai. Thank you for watching and good night.